Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Tincture of Sense. So on today's episode, as always, I'm going to be asking you guys a question. So, have you guys ever heard of the Power Memo? Yes? No? Okay, I'll give you guys a hint. It was written in 1971 and is partly responsible for the outside's reach, impact, and, effects that the conservative movement is having in the United States of America. Does it ring a bell now? No? Okay. So just give me 5 minutes of your time. I'll tell you what the memo has to do with anything and I'll tell you all about it, okay? Just give me 5 minutes. So let's go.
In every country around the world, regardless of how seemingly good or bad the country is, you'll find people that identify bad aspects of the good country and good aspects of the bad country. While this may seem like a case of looking for hairs to split, some might say this means no country is perfect. One thing though, we can assume more people will prefer to live in a country that's known as a good one rather than a country that's known as a bad one if they're given the option. It will be good to know how good countries are created though. Actually, let's take a step back and ask, what's the definition of a good country? Are good countries places where all citizens have access to high quality education for free? Or are they countries where healthcare is accessible by all and is free? Better still, are they places where everyone that wants a job has a job that pays them a decent wage and allows them to actualize their dreams? Well, I think a good country will have elements of all these. But is there a country on the planet in which all these are present? I think the answer is a resounding no. So how does a country like Nigeria, that its citizens wanted to move from a middling country, others will say it's 100% bad, to become a good country, how did they go about it? It might behoove everyone that wants a better Nigeria to know about the Power Memo, the document I referenced in the intro section, and the history behind it. The memo is not about nation building, far from it. It was a roadmap that helped American corporations obtain the power they currently wield. That said, the relevance of the Power Memo is about how one man's vision, backed by relevant institutions and ruthlessly implemented, had a significant impact on the trajectory of a country. The creation and implementation of the Power Memo should be a lodestar, an exemplar, a roadmap, choose whatever adjective you want, for people that are truly serious about making positive change in Nigeria. The Power Memo, written by a man called Lewis Powell, was a deeply cynical document created for the sole purpose of corporations to regain, increase, and consolidate their power in the United States of America. The Power Memo was commissioned by a director of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce in 1971 as a blueprint to counteract what was seen as an undermining of private businesses and a progression towards socialism in America. Now, what did the memo contain? Firstly, funding. The memo inspired the heirs of wealthy American industrialists to use their charitable donations to join an organization that was working to actualize Powell's vision of a pro-business, anti-socialist, and minimally government-regulated America. This was to return America to how businesses operated in the heyday of American industrialism, the so-called Gilded Age. Secondly, organization. The memo became the blueprint for the rise of the American conservative movement and led to the formation of a network of influential right-wing think tanks and lobbying organizations. Thirdly, education and the media. The memo identified where criticism against big businesses come from, college campuses, the media, politicians, and so on and so forth, and called for the constant surveillance of textbooks and television content, creating a sustained media outreach program, funding scholars sympathetic to the business view, publishing books and papers from popular magazines in scholarly journals, and influencing public opinion. Lastly, become the establishment. Lewis Powell became a judge on the U.S. Supreme Court in 1971 as well, the year he wrote the memo. While he was on the court, he was responsible for a number of business-friendly opinions, which included the opinion in a case that laid the groundwork for the 2010 decision, essentially allowing corporations to spend unlimited amounts of money in U.S. elections if they so choose. The Power Memo had come to its logical conclusion. So, to do a brief recap, the memo outlined and secured the funding required to achieve specific aims and objectives, such as building and resourcing organizations needed to promote and propagate a specific conservative worldview. The funding was also used to pay for academics and media personalities friendly to this worldview and commission research that introduced reasonable doubt into issues that had previously been seen as settled. Finally, the author of the memo became a member of the US Supreme Court, the premier body that interprets laws in the United States. This was a precursor to dozens of people that don't believe in government but run for office to undermine government. The bottom line is, while the implementation of the memo has been great for corporations and their owners, it's been horrendous for the public at large. An over-exaggerated fear of socialism is one of the reasons why America doesn't have universal healthcare like other advanced economies do. While building organizations with an extreme conservative worldview is why America finds it difficult to regulate guns, why there's unchecked money in politics, and arguably why fake news is endemic. Now, every ill in America cannot be blamed on the Power Memo, but quite a few can. What does the Power Memo have to do with building a better Nigeria? The memo itself? Nothing at all. The strategic but albeit ruthless objectives and implementation of the memo? Everything. To solve the problems we have and create a better country, we need to look backwards to our history, sideways across the globe, and forward to the future to craft the solutions that can get us to the so-called promised land. While we're doing this, we need to understand that the process of building better institutions and a better country is not something that will be done in a month, a year, or even a decade. And this is not necessarily a bad thing. A nation-building and people-centric version of the Power Memo needs to be created, and it should be created with the future in mind. It should have the future in mind in a way that understands that the creator or creators of the memo might not be alive to witness the transformation they envisioned in the document, not because the transformation didn't take place, but because it was actualized over a long period of time. People tasked with the responsibility of implementing this nation-building memo should have the presence of mind and single-mindedness to deliver the task at hand. This is not a task for the emotional, the faint of heart, or the dishonest. The task needs to be implemented with the ruthless efficiency of a chess-playing robot. No emotion, all logic, and pure calculation. Even this is not a guarantee of success, but it has to be attempted sooner rather than later. The likelihood of engendering enduring change overnight is as likely as me going to bed and waking up the next morning as a Caucasian. It won't happen, and we shouldn't even desire it. We know root and branch change needs to happen, and it'll take time. We don't want rot to hide in the system and resume the destruction it rots when we're not looking, or do we?
I'm sure you guys get the point, and I've already gotten a tincture of sense from what I've shared in this episode. For people that haven't gotten their own tincture, well, here's a nice round one for you guys to enjoy, just there. Now, on that note, I'm going to say thanks for watching. Look out for our next video next season. Yes, next season. We've gotten to the end of season 3, and now we're going to be taking a break to put together videos for season 4. Okay, so if you guys have any topics that you guys want us to look into and do a video on, just leave it in the comment section or send us an email at atinctureofsense@gmail.com. That's atinctureofsense@gmail.com. So on that note, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in season 4. Please don't forget to keep subscribing and liking and sharing the videos. Bye bye.